The storm wrecked outside, but inside the dimly lit library, a different kind of storm was brewing. Vine's back was pressed against the bookshelf, her breath shallow as Jungkook kissed her in his hands rested on either side of her. His dark eyes locked onto hers, intense, unreadable, dangerous. She should remind him that he was off limit, but when he dipped his head slightly, his warm breath coasting over her lips, she didn't move. She could not. Jungkook's voice was low, almost a whisper. You are shaking. Wine swallowed hard. He tilted his head, studying her, drinking her in. Is it because of me? Yes. But she would not admit it. Instead, she turned her face to the side, breaking the eye contact that had her knees weak. Jungkook exhaled a small chuckle. He was through her. He always did. His finger reached up, slow and deliberate, pressing against her wrist, feather light, teasing Vian. Sucked in a breath, her pulse wild under his touch. I wonder, he mused, his finger trailing up her arm, his thumb pressing against the inside of her wrist. What would happen if I took things a little further? Vian's head snapped up, eyes wide. Jungkook, his other hand tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. She could see it now. The hunger, the possessiveness, the unspoken desire. Tonight he wasn't holding back, not when she kept running, not when she kept denying what was already there. Jungkook leaned in, his nose brushing against her. Tell me to stop, he murmured. Vine's lip parted, but no words came out because she didn't want him to stop. She never did. Jungkook lips coasted over hers, barely touching, just enough to drive her insane. Do you know how long I have wanted this? He whispered. Vine shivered. Jungkook, his hands moved, one sliding to her waist, the other cupping the side of her face. His thumb tracing a slow, lazy circle against her cheek. You drive me crazy, Vine. His lip barely brushed against her as he spoke. Do you have any idea how much I want? You, Vine's breath eased, then he slow, deliberate, consuming. His lips were warm, demanding but not rushed. He was savoring her. Vine's finger curled against his chest, gripping his shirt as her knees weakened. Jungkook rolled against her, his arm tightening around her as if he would never let go. The kiss deepened, his tongue, her bottom lip teasing, coaxing her to give in. Vian let out a soft whimper, and that was his undoing. With a sudden movement, Jungkook lifted her back, hitting the bookshelf. Vian gasped, breaking the. But Jungkook didn't stop. His lip trailed down along her, down to the sensitive spot just beneath her ear. You are mine, sweetheart, he murmured, his voice thick with precision. Vine's head spun. Jungkook, his teeth grasped. A warning acclaim. Vine gasped. You feel it too, he whispered. Don't you? Vine squeezed her eyes shut. Yes, she felt everything. His lips returned to hers, stealing her breath once more, drawing her in him. This was a dangerous game. But as she tangled her fingers in his hair, pulling him closer, she realized she had already lost. Yes, she was lost, drawing in him in his touch, in the heat that spread between them. Jungkook's lips were insistent, molding against her with a fierce, desperate hunger that left her gasping for air. His hands roamed, claiming, possessing, his grip firm yet careful, as if she were something precious. She didn't know when she had stopped resisting or if she had ever truly wanted to, but then. The sudden noise made them freeze. The library door slammed open and a familiar voice echoed through the room. Jungkook, I swear to God, if you are hiding in here again. Jungkook cursed under his breath, his forehead dropping onto Vine's shoulder. Vine still pinned between him and the bookshelf, barely had time to process what was happening before she heard the sound of footsteps nearing. It was his sister, Jungkook. Her voice was filled with suspicion. Vine's heart pounded. Oh no. Jungkook still pressed against her, slowly lifted his head, his dark, annoyed gaze meeting her. Don't say a word, he whispered against her lips. Vian barely nodded, but she could still feel his body against hers, still feel the way his breath fanned over. Where the did he go? His sister muttered, clearly scanning the cell. Jungkook exhaled slowly, trying to keep his composure. Vian, however, was struggling to ignore the way Jungkook's hand still rested on her waist, the way her body still ached from his touch, second stage into eternity. of whatever he'll show up eventually, and just like that, she was gone. Silence filled the library once more, but it wasn't the same. Not when the air between them was charged, crackling with undeniable tension. Wine swallowed hard, looking up at Jungkook. He had not moved. His hand still gripped her waist, his lip dangerously closed. And then he smirked. Close call, he murmured, his thumb brushing against her hip. Wine let out a shaky breath. We should stop. Jungkook chuckled, low and amused. Should we? He leaned in again, his lips grazing her, teasing, and despite everything, she didn't stop him. Wine wasn't sure when it started. Maybe it was the way Jungkook had held her against the bookshelf. His body a firm, intoxicating weight against hers. Maybe it was the way his touch had lingered, how his voice had dropped lower than ever before, dripping with unspoken promises. And now she could not stop thinking about him. She found herself watching him, checking him out without realizing it, her heart racing every time their eyes met. And Jungkook, the arrogant, knew, oh, he definitely knew. His smirk was sharper, his touches were longer. His voice, when he spoke to her, was a curious, lazy, deep, filled with something only she could recognize now. And the worst part, she wanted him to keep going, she wanted more. One evening at dinner, Hyun's sharp eyes flickered between them, suspicion evident in her stare. You have been acting strange lately, she mused, tapping her fingers against the wine glass. Both of you. Wine forced a smile. Jungkook, on the other hand, didn't even bother denying it. He simply leaned back in his chair, one arm draped lazily over the backrest, close enough to touch Wine if he wanted to. His gaze met hers for a brief second. Dark, knowing, Wine's stomach flipped. Hyun, narrowing her eyes, let out a hum. You two aren't hiding anything, are you? Wine almost choked on her drink. Jungkook, unbothered. He simply smirked. Why, jealous? Hyun scoffed, rolling her eyes, as if I would waste my energy on you. The tension was thick, so thick that Wine swore she could barely breathe, and yet Jungkook, he was thriving in it, and now so was she. Wine swallowed hard, a dangerous thought creeping into her mind. Maybe it was time for her to start playing his game too. That night after dinner, Jungkook was in his study, sitting behind his massive desk, the top buttons of his dress shirt undone, sleeve rolled up. As he scrolled through his phone, he looked sinful, dark hair, tousled lips slightly parted as he focused on something. Completely unaware of the effect he had on her, Ryan clenched her fist. Enough. She stepped inside without knocking, closing the door behind her. Jungkook looked up, approached, raising slightly at her presence. Ryan. He mused, his voice low, knowing what brings you here. She hated how he sounded so damn amused, as if he already knew why she was here. Still, she lifted her chin. I need help. Jungkook leaned back, watching her with that lazy, arrogant smirk. With what exactly? Ryan walked over to his desk, placing her palm flat on the surface. Then she leaned in close enough that she could see his breath hitch. With this, she whispered, and before she could overthink it, she lifted herself onto the desk, her legs brushing against his thighs. Jungkook still for once he wasn't in control. Ryan smiled. You have been teasing me for weeks, Jungkook. He exhaled slowly and Alo chuckled. Oh, what do you want then? Ryan leaned forward, her hand brushing over his tie, curling around the fabric. She gave a soft tug, pulling him closer. I want you to suffer like I have. Jungkook had always been in control, always one step ahead, always the one pulling the string, but not tonight, not with her. Wayne was dangerous because he had figured out how to play with at his own game, and now she was sitting on his desk, her legs brushing against his thighs, her fingers curling around his tie, tugging him closer. His restraint snapped. In an instant, his hand shot out, gripping her fingers, pressing into her skin, his body pushing until there was no space left between them. Wayne let out a shaky breath, her eyes widening slightly at the shift, at the raw hunger in his gaze. You have no idea what you are doing, do you? Jungkook murmured, his voice dangerously low, rough, Wayne salad, but she didn't back down. Maybe I do. Jungkook let out a dark chuckle, his fingers slipping. Deliberate touches. You wanted to play princess, he murmured, his breath hot against her ear. A sharp gasp left her lips as he suddenly gripped her chin, forcing her to look at him. Then play, he whispered, but don't forget who you are playing with. And then, not soft, not sweet. It was wild, consuming, punishing, as if he had been starving all this time, as if holding back had been his greatest torture. Ryan whimpered, fisting his completely losing herself in him. Jungkook's hand explored, memorized, claimed his finger digging into her hip, pulling her even closer, pressing her against mine. He growled against her lips. You get that? Ryan nodded breathlessly, but he wasn't satisfied. Say it, yours, she whispered. His forehead pressed against her, his breath ragged, his eyes burning into hers, and then with one last shred of control he pulled back, his hand shaking. If you stay here any longer, he raised his voice thick with resistance. I won't stop. Fire exhaled, her lips swelled. She should leave, she should walk away, but instead she lifted her hand slowly, unbuttoning Jungkook's jaw clenched, his muscle taut beneath her touch, and then she whispered the word that shattered whatever was left of his restraint. Then don't. With a deep growl, he lifted her off the desk, gripping her, carrying her effortlessly, and then they were crashing against the couch, against each other, against everything they had been trying to deny for so long. And this time there was no stopping. Vine's breath hit as Jungkook against the couch, his body pressing flush against hers, his lips ghosting over her throat. His scent, masculine, intoxicating, overpowering, wrapped around her like a sinful temptation. His fingers trailed slowly down her sides, memorizing every inch of her. You wanted this, Jungkook whispered, his voice deep, husky, dangerous. Vine's finger trembled as they curled around his bare shoulder, her heart pounding wildly. You made me want this. She breathed. Jungkook groaned, his hands gripping her, fitting himself exactly where he belonged. You have no idea, he murmured against her lips, how long I have waited to. His mouth captured, positively, completely. Vine gasped as his hand gripped her, rolling her against him, letting her feel just how much he wanted her. Jungkook, she whimpered, her nails digging into his skin. Something snapped inside him at the way she said his name, his control gone, his patience shattered, he ripped off his shirt, his turned sculpted chest looming over her, his eyes ablaze with pure, unfiltered anger. You are mine, he murmured, dragging his lip down. Say it again, Vian breathless arcing into him. I am yours, Jungkook, he rewarded her with a slow body molding into hers like a perfect puzzle. Good girl, he groaned. Now let me show you exactly what that means. And then, falling from her lips, no more boundaries, no more restraint, no more pretending. Vine's bare skin was wrapped in the warmth of Jungkook's silk sheet, her body. She stirred the scent of him, smoky, musky, and utterly intoxicating, clinging to her like a possessive mark. The loose fabric of his oversized black shirt draped over her, covering the evidence of what they had done. She lifted slightly, feeling the to her cheek. A deep, satisfied groan sounded next to her. Where do you think you are going, baby? Jungkook's husky morning voice sent a shiver down her spine. Vine turned only to be met with dark, sleepy eyes, his messy hair making him look too. You wore my shirt, he smiled, his voice laced with approval. Vine girl, she had thrown it on in desperation when she realized how completely ruined she was beneath the sheet. Jungkook's large hand slid over her bare fingers, slipping beneath. You look better in my clothes than I do, he murmured, pulling her close until she was straddling his lap, their warmth melting together again. Before she could respond, he tilted her chin up, his lip trailing lazy kisses down her jaw. Jungkook, she whispered, half-heartedly, pushing him away, knowing damn well she didn't want him to stop. I'm not done with you yet, he muttered, flipping them over so he was beneath him again, his finger hooked into the hem of his shirt, ready to strip it off her body. Bang! The bedroom door slammed open. Vian screamed, hanging the covers over herself. Jungkook, you absolute. Hyun froze, her wide eyes took in the stare of the room, tangled, and most importantly, Vian in Jungkook's oversized shirt, Sitting in bed with her brother hovering over her, Jungkook shirtless smudge and oh morning Hyun, he greeted with zero shame. Wyan on the other hand wanted to die on the spot. Hyun's jaw dropped. Oh my god, Wyan, you, my brother, in this bedroom. Jungkook chuckled darkly, stretching his arm. Well, you did tell me to stop messing around and find someone serious. That doesn't mean my best friend. You, Hyun shrieked. Wyan had her burning face in Jungkook's eye, but the infuriating man only smirked, wrapping his arm around her possessively. Hyun's eyes narrowed at the way Jungkook was casually holding Wyan. Wait a minute, Hyun squinted, suspicion creeping into her tone. How long has this been going on? Wyan's breath hit Jungkook's smirk deepened, his finger catching Wyan's bear. Long enough, he replied, wise check with meaning. Wyan elbowed him, glaring. Jungkook. Hyun gagged. I can't deal with this right now. She turned to leave, but not before pointing an accusing finger. You are dead, Jeon, Jungkook and Wyan. We are going to talk later. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. You heard her, he smirked, pulling Wyan back beneath the covers. We should make this worth the scolding later, don't you think? Wyan's heart pounded as if possessive, desperate, completely addicted. Hyun's screams were nothing but fading noise outside the room because here in this moment only Jungkook mattered and he had no intention of letting her go. That morning, Wyan paced anxiously outside Hyun's bedroom, biting her lip. Jungkook, on the other hand, was leaning against the hallway wall, arms crossed, looking way too amused for her liking. She's your best friend, he said, smirking. Shouldn't you just barge in and beg for her forgiveness? Wyan shot him a glare. You don't understand, Jungkook. She is mad, she whispered gently. He raised a brow. So she just found out I. Jungkook smiled wide and not just. Sweetheart, we did a lot more than that. Wyan slapped a hand over his mouth, her face burning. Shut up, Jungkook chuckled, pulling her closer and wrapping his arms round her waist. You are adorable when you are nervous. She shoved him away. Not the time, Jungkook. Taking a deep breath, she finally knocked on Hyun's door. No response. She knocked again. Hyun, she called softly. More silence. Wyan turned to Jungkook. She's ignoring me, she whispered in horror. Jungkook rolled his eyes. Oh, for God's sake. Before she could stop him, he twisted the doorknob and pushed the door open. Inside, Hyun was sitting on her bed with her arms crossed, her chest puffed out in an obvious sulk. Hyun, Wyan stepped inside instantly. Are you mad at me? Hyun let out an overly dramatic sigh and looked away. I don't know, Wyan. Should I be mad? My best friend and my brother were secretly behind my back. Jungkook smiled. It wasn't a secret, you just didn't notice. She sat beside Hyun, grabbing her hand. Look, I should have told you. I didn't know how. Hyun narrowed her eyes. Did he force you? Jungkook scoffed. Excuse me, Hyun sighed in desperation. No, he didn't. She blushed. I wanted this too. Hyun stared at her in silence. Then she grumbled, crossing her arm. Oh, fine, but it is still weird. It is Jungkook. The Wyan glanced at Jungkook. He was smirking like the devil himself. Not he said dismissively. Only hers. Wyan face palm. Hyun gagged. Great, now I have to witness you two being. Wyan pouted. You are still my best friend, Hyun. That won't change. Hyun sighed dramatically. Fine, but you better keep him in check, she muttered, eyeing Jungkook suspiciously. If he ever hurts you, I will kill him. Jungkook raised a brow, noted. Wyan grinned and hugged her friend. Thank you, Hyun. I love you. Hyun groaned. Yeah, I love you too. Then she pointed a finger at Jungkook. But if I ever hurt you, making Wyan. I swear, Wyan screamed and shoved her face into a pillow and Jungkook. He just laughed.